Chapter 1: Uniqueness of a Moment. Generally, I suppose that the process of writing is not really such a special moment. It's just a movement of a hand above a paper, and it's the same movement as when you click a button, just with a small difference of your energy application. Generally, what we do is accumulate and throw away some kind of our energy. I feel that everything going now to invention of some kind of global aggregator, because what all medias do now is accumulating our attention, our global human society creative work, and it all mixed up in a way so all system could be effective, and so it could give us the things that society wants. And it is not always a one thing, and it's pretty hard to understand by an average person. You should somehow get to this. The average man could understand it only when he was already out of consumer's area. Thus I really like the electronic engineering world, because there is so little competition, concurrency. Such a small number of people really see the future and the perspectives in this area for today. Almost all people today have a huge dependence on their cell phones, social networks, gaming, and simply do not see any way out of it. But I think I can. Chapter 2: Out of Time. Nowadays, nobody has any time, but everybody is trying to maintain some kind of schedule, in a way where they can constantly do the right things in serial. But we can't always do only the right things, because this is not how this world works. And the problem is that we can't plan the wrong things. And in general, do we really can plan anything? I think we can only kind of correct the way things go. I think that the right way of doing things is a way when any outer world motivation can never be greater than your own inner motivation and your own goals. Basically, we shouldn't live and do things primarily for someone else, not for yourself, ignoring our own opinions, goals, and problems. So thus, I think our personality identifies our interests. Chapter 3: Me versus Art. The best things that we can give to our world is our happy and productive time living, the best life that we can do. We are always waiting for something. But what exactly do we wait for? In the end of every time period of our life, there is always that moment of a rest, some kind of getting low. This moment means that the period of our life is over and done. And if this moment is not happening, the new one isn't starting. In that moment, all the people want is to get empty inside, throw every unnecessary things away. They want to feel sad and lonely, to start some new process inside. Usually it's the end of the week, when people get hangovers or the organism setting up to anxiety. Thus, the end is always something bad. And they feel that the one more period, the one more time is ending, and feel bad about it. I think writing in general have the same value as everything. Like every physical object, like every device you could develop, we can feel and see that the value only can exist where the process is done. And if the process is in dynamic of the moment, the values change relatively. All the artists and persons are really just the moments of one big process of life. All of them who work hard and get constant success and ones who not. Chapter 4: Things always been that way. I do not like things that makes you addicted. Not because of any anticipation or bad feeling or toxic feelings about it, but because I pretty understand how it works in physical and psychological ways. I understand that people sometimes really want to get out of their boring minds. They really want that negative attitudes and situations where they can feel something different, because people really get boring of weekdays, everyday routine and responsibility. They boring of being right, polite, boring of the same people, same stories, same thoughts and ideas. They want something new, but most of all do not understand how to get to it. And I think that I understand it. And I see how it's really easy to do. I see how people feel bad about it. Because of their own imagination, because of the roles that they can handle, because they can't give up all that bad ideas and thoughts, because they walk in circles, because they keep thinking about the same things, like 100 times again and again, and they're scared to make a step outside and make something wrong. Maybe they have some reasons for acting like that. Maybe in some way they are right, but that way of living makes them feel bad. They restrict themselves to live, lock themselves up, and begin to being old in a world which they imagine in their own imagination. The young people usually think that the work can only be in a way when society offer you some kind of work or job. And on the other hand, we have the loneliness and misunderstanding the world around them. They don't understand how they can work with their own imagination, how they can work in their own way of thinking and dealing with understanding things around them. Understanding that there is no magic or mystical world. This is why we see a lot of young romantic people, or upset people, or those who can't deal with that kind of way of feeling, or people who feels boring and lazy in their personal life. And it is the price which then pay for thinking in that kind of romantic view on life. This is a problem of all addicted people. They relate the object of their addiction with their direct interest to their own life. They mistakenly believe that their interest of their own life is located in object of their addiction. And most people simply do not have a time to check if it is right or wrong. Chapter 5. Wrong detail. A large amount of opportunities makes a lot of things impossible to do for us. But we should always remember that the construction of our physical world is designed in a way where our own destiny will always be done one day. Even though we can imagine all the results in our own head, the only one result will be right, and we finally could reach it. Chapter 6. Fallen Wishes on a Seashore. I can't understand how relationships work in a psychological way. I think that real independent relationships are very hard and lead to serious changes in personality, which is really not that necessary. Both partners of the relationship change, but the slave part changes more. I think there are no equal balance relationships, nor in friendship, nor in love, nor in relatives, nor parents. Somehow we always balance our roles in any kind of relations, slaves or masters in some values, and only we decide how much we need that kind of relationship beside what we can get from it. Love relationship is easy for me because you always know your goal, life continuing children, and it's also easier to understand if you achieve your goal or not. In relations of parents, friends, colleagues, mates, idols, fans, etc. It's more hard to understand because the goals of relations are more unclear, but the values and opportunities in such relations are the same, like in the other types of relations. And the only question is how much time, intensity and energy you could spend on it. I like that somehow our body gives us advice in the right moment, how to act right now. You should only have the will to do like that. And don't be afraid or lazy. Chapter 7. Resocialization. The people who really want to see you will find you anywhere. This does not depend on you, it depends on how they mind you. And you can influence on that by your reaction on it. Like who you are when them people recognize you by one of the roles they imagine. Do you really want people to recognize you like that or not? Or you energetically or emotionally restrict such way of recognition. During different times of our life, we have different aims and goals, and thus special emotional settings. But what is that feeling when we write something to our memory? Why do we do this? I think our existence consists of two processes, consuming of the information and creating the information. It's two opposite processes. As well as understanding and thinking, creation of ideas, and they are splitting on the fast speed, while such processes like writing something, when we write what we think, digitally or on a paper, and then when we read what we write, understanding process. Chapter 8. Feel. I am curious what we think about when we talk about the mood term or our emotional state. What do we mean when we say we are in a bad mood? What does we feel in this moment? Interesting fact that owners of the shops always care a lot of how their shops looks like for the customers, the design and shopping experience. But what is the real reason why they're selling products and not their interior? The main reason that customers first of all come to their shops, not really for the actual products, and firstly because of the need of the unique situation and new event in their life, new experience. They want this events to be happened in these interesting, attractive interiors of a shops. That's why sellers care a lot about how the shops looks, more than about what products they will sell. The new life experience is the most wanted thing in the life of every human, because that common feeling could be felt by every little creature in our world. Everybody feels some kind of mood, because it happens by itself every time we wait for something, or every time things happens in our life situations, events. People won't really check the products inside a shop because they feel on a seller's area. They don't want to make a decision by pressure of circumstances, and they wish to make decision in their own safe area. This is how sales transactions works. And this is why the sellers community make the actual interiors that everyday people like nowadays. Because the people come up with idea of trading, selling, and everybody treat it in their own way, even thus its full duplex process. It have the equal ability of power connection via both sides, but with the time the connection becomes weaker. Chapter 9. Wall of Ice. Our work is always in progress and in process. It's always done in someone's interests, with passion of somebody, and it's important that these interests was yours. Usually people lose because they give everything they have for one single goal. They repeat this mistake again and again. They do not want to rethink their goal and give a real value to the thing they want. Even though they know that their life resources are not infinite and limited, and you are the only person who can give yourself a pass to retrieve, spend, or create some new resources of some values. If a value do not have a price, it's hard to identify the real price with only your own opinion. We are the only one who make a decision where to put our powers and ideas, our energy, while value the situations which we believe in. There are no other streams. Everything works on people who do something every day, who spent their energy on something, and if they don't, then people who consume their work simply lose interest or get destroyed emotionally, or change their point of interesting to something else. There is no any equity or stability in our world. There is a stable grows up or stable negative growth. It's just a property which people like, and they like to feel it as something special. How do we feel that it is the right time? When there is no other control, the social opinion, it's bad, because when you do what you want to do and there is no objective value of the process, you might begin thinking that you do everything correct, when in real life it can even not belong to a real world. Chapter 10. Your speed. To burn a microcontroller code, to render a video, audio, track, or upload it to the website or music distributor, you only need seconds nowadays. To come up with idea, the deep concept of idea, to value your idea, and to get a vision of how it could be, looks in global big market. To come up with the concept of your thing, object, invention. To believe in your idea, you need a vision or the big experience. This is why human opinion or mention is very important and unique. It's easy to think that everybody and everything around us is easy, but if you think a little deeper, you can understand that these regular, casual, everyday people have created this deep, complex and smart, beautiful, comfortable world where we live in now. And in this way, it's very hard to treat people. You should deeply understand all of that and treat the society of humans as if it is the most precious thing in the world, even with the most strangest people. It's very important for everybody. This way, anonymity works as a tool of security for people against bad managers and bad situations, which leads to the bad decisions, which pushes bad people to addictions and leave them without any control. The bad thing is not to get bad content, but bad thing is when people want by their own wish to get bad content constantly. Infinite wishes are useless and give us nothing. I like this feeling or intention when you have a desire to do something, and it always appears somehow, and I like it. It feels like something what you believe in, finds a real body with time, and comes to the real world and brings that realness in our life. And even if you realize that it never can be true, I think writing something is always nice somehow, and you can feel it. The only question is how long this feeling lasts, because everybody realized that you can't record everything, every idea, all the time. And it somehow becomes boring at one moment. What people are looking for in general. I think they are looking for events, which they can accept into their life, which they want to associate themselves with. The world of memories is very complex, and includes all memories of all society, includes every man in society. Recently, I do not interest in the real world of things. I like more to get a walk and think about some new ideas, neither than interact with physical objects or admire to have it. I like more to think to generate new information by myself, neither to accept some kind of information as it is, like watching movies, listening to the music, watching news. Chapter 11. Liquid Plastic. The Today Society is a very strange. We can clearly hear that big voice of our society every day and do not always can handle with it properly. Why do we listen to it? And even today, we still do not completely understand how to protest that big signal of the society, to capture only effective information for us, because that flow is way too powerful and makes people become uninterested about everything, and changing their internal priorities, which makes them do not see their real aims, and then bring people far away from where they are now, so they never get a chance and feeling to get back there again. Chapter 12. Try to repeat. I noticed that I have some weird fixation on time. I usually do a lot of things not just because I want it to be done, but because it's a right time, it's a special time for this things to be done, in my view, and I think that's a wrong approach to do things. It's important, first of all, to do the things that you have desire to be done now, because first of all it brings you pleasure, and the more important, not to wait for something, but to do something that you want now, and analyze yourself, and not someone else around you. The most interesting thing for me is, do not do a thing, because of the understanding and feeling that if it should really happen to you, then it will come closer and closer with every minute of your life. And this event, this moment and this idea become more bigger in your mind and disturb your imagination more and more day by day. And it will ask you to release it. And if you answer no, then anyway you always can come up with another idea that will make you interested. And you could always do something beside this. That's why I like to do ideas only with my own passion, when they even can't wait, and even ask to release it. And this is the moment where you create things more creatively, more effectively, and with maximum effort. The lyrics and music is a perfect mix. It's something more than each part separately. I noticed that I like to dig into humans' personality, as everybody, I think. I'm not interested in event by itself, but I'm really interested to find weak places in human personality and point on it, and offer some solutions, opportunities, and abilities to act different. When communication with person was created, there are two words, him and yours. When your opponent leads the communication, you both begin to treat it by the rules and the views of his world, and if you lead that communication, you both value everything you talk about, with your points, values, and beliefs. I think that is the wrong approach to communication. The communication should go and be treated by the values of both systems of gradation of values, beliefs, and points of your communication at this moment only, and if everything okay for both of you and your opponent, the communication should continue. Because human memory do not attend to remember everything, and if you value the whole communication only with one point of view, it looks to me like a wrong and not effective way of valuing things. Because we are people and we are limited in our lifetime. Like dialogues, talks, meetings, and by that time intervals, that's how human communication goes. And that is not just a general boring casual information, but the former brick of every personal life. Every second of every human life is important. Engineers is teach to solve any problem and any task in any situation in someone's interests, and the artist is different. They have a different approach, because they can do, not do something, if they want, opposite to engineers whose main aim is to solve the problem which was created by someone. Writing and thinking is a hard work, the same way as real physical hard work. Thinking and writing ideas do not mean nothing if it's not supported with real physical activities as well as sitting at home without taking a walk. I think it's wrong to make society go close in their own areas, own bubbles. There is, of course, should be some closed safe areas, but it shouldn't be default and should not be aggressively friendly. Interesting how ideas, how ISRCing in public. Do they act like waves or not? How do we feel without them? I think the freedom of movement is a garant of freedom of ideas. Our body feels that freedom of you could go wherever it wants, wherever you want and do whatever you want. Thus it begins to work in such different mode. It's critically important to keep that feeling of freedom that you can do whatever you want, because accepting of this is influence on our behavior, not just to do what you choose in life, but influence on what you do not choose to do. And its important choice of not doing something help us to more easy find ways to do more precisely what we really want. And sometimes people are super sorry to accept that there is another side of their life, which they are just ignoring. There is no competition in life, there are only what you want more and what you want less, at this particle in this specific moment of your life. Chapter 13. Big Idea. It's really amazing how people could fake any terms. Some people do this with a great success and add big emotions to this process. I think it's important to not losing your own interest in your own activities, otherwise it will begin to merge with public interests of society. A lot of people do a lot of things nowadays, like studying something, for example, just because they feel that, from the public view, it's the right moment, now is the right time to do something tight now, it's time to look like they are studying something, and however it's a wrong approach, I think. Our body receive information speed is way more slower than receiving speed in our imagination. That's why people more like to value them ideas than will you. The feelings of their bodies. Body receive, it's faster and easier than valuing the real reality of our physical world. How much is your passion to say yes to something? How much is your passion to see something in our real physical world? Every new media creates its own new reality layer of personality, new world, new truth behind what we can find as them on polarity, which, worth to some special benefits. Beneficiaries on this level or layer, all our activities are some. How is our views on our entire world? How do we develop all our personality layers and our memory of our something of communications? It's hard for people to draw them on world, to build it every day. That's why they are always looking for something to do, something to their life by themselves. Even though our own life, it's the most interesting thing that we can imagine. Whatever it look, no matter, however, how it works like today, you should have to cope with things without any obstacle. Chapter 14. We hear you clearly. Everything we try to prove to the world every day is that we are humans. I'm engineer, I'm politic, I'm hard worker, etc. We can't watch something and understand it equally for all of us, because everybody has its own opinion, own view, and own taste, and usually two people do not like the same thing. Unknownness is better than when you have a really small amount of information about something. We convert our energy to sales, transactions, or something that values for us. Every artist are trying to show something they made, and they try to prove that it's special and exists in our own common public world. But that's not really always true. What we can do when we want to do nothing, it's easy. Create something new, but do not give your values to the strangers. People do not really want to communicate. All they really want to do is to find a common language. You should do everything by your own decision. Do not wait for an approval. The main thing in every communication is a passion to understand your opponent, because everybody wants to be the only one. The object is a term invented by a human. In a real world, there is no object. The world, it just slowly exists. It's only the human passion to link everything with his understanding of world around, and gives an understandable names to everything around him. I always wonder how psychology influence on our physical body. The listening works the same way as vision or viewing. You can see something but do not really understand what it is. You can hear something, but you do not want to understand what you hear. People do not really see you in the way you imagine yourself. They usually see only the things they want to see in you. That is the reason why it's impossible to communicate everybody to everybody. How do people feel that they are a part of something bigger? Do they feel it, or do they just imagine that ideas in their own? Chapter 15. Realization. 2. The term form have the same origin. It was invented by a human. Habits of the world around us are very similar to the habits of humans, and I think it's a wrong approach to think about something like it is separated part from the world around us, because the world itself is a one thing, and do not understand when you talk about a part of something, because it do not know how this might be possible. The form is limited part of understanding the human nature by human, and this term is linked with us strongly. We have opportunities only in this today moment. You do not need to look for opportunities in the past or in your old views. I think it's necessary to be on the same wave with modern actual society, and do not need to be only inside your own world of imagination. Also, if you can do this, thus there is no problem to do anything. We are watching an infinity repeats of our lives, and there is a special time to be proud of yourself and to be mad about yourself. How much time can you be immature? The society's success, it is something that everybody will feel one time. But we all have a winding path to it. I think anybody can do everything by themselves. I wonder how one situation could change the whole complete human mindset at one moment. I wonder how hard people are trying to prove the world that they are the exclusive owners of ideas, that they are the only one who come up with these ideas, and the person is the only one and don't even want to notice the simple fact that with death of the such owners, their ideas do not going anywhere, because them ideas are the part of the society thinking process as well, other people thinking process as well. In real life, people do not really want to create any original product and sell it, but they want to change their life situation, the order of things around them, because they simply have an energy to do it. Change relationships, links, habits between people today, by making new things to change reality of today. In every human system, we agreed to work not only with people and with their opinions, views, but we work with every people who want to interact with our system of values, and you can't ignore it. It's how the nature works, how this world works, which we are the part of. If you work with the money exchange by your work, you should firstly understand the goals of your co-members of this system first of all. The deepness of art depends on how deep your understanding of your craft. Until the idea is terrifying you, you should take an action, because that feeling is not forever, and do not least always anyway. Everything we create in life will be created by our own hands and by our own head. So maybe it's already a good time to start crafting something by our hands and come up with ideas by our own heads. Neither just willing and checking everything infinitely. The more visual information you have in your head is more you want to receive such information in future. This is some kind of addiction of information. You should understand that we were born without any common information in our heads and come up with all an ideas and beliefs by ourselves, by our own minds about this beautiful world around us. Chapter 16. In the Rhythm of Noise. Your own persona. Thinking experience is 100% more precise than something you got from some another person. It's interesting how somehow things more time than human, longer than human life. We should be thankful for society for some common mistaken views or misunderstanding on some things, for example like a knife which can kill and which can help you to live, because the society has created such big attitudes to the things. You shouldn't look like enlightened or special because we are all a part of this moment and this nature, and thus you should be actual to this moment for today. People with their own voices always setting everybody else around them on their own wave. I really want to know how to live with not spamming my mind with other people's life information with no suspicious data and information. But how should I do to live like that? Everybody always trying to be not like anybody else. But you can't talk to everybody because everything is always changing and always something new, and you can't predict the weather. The interesting thing that we have a limited amount of sound which we can publicly say loud, and we all work in this situation, so it can be mostly harmonic sound, nice and pleasant. The beginning and the ending of everything is always connected. The end of one idea is a beginning of another. The beginning is an idealist period, is burning of creation and influencing of this idea, and the ending of actionless period, idealist period. Time is just a sequence of some things. People's activities have a huge influence on its sleeping time directly. Otherwise, humans' personal timing is useless for other people around them. If I say that I lived for 10 years and have a 10-year experience, that would be useless for people around because it is only my personal experience, because all these personal values are only individual and for individual only, and not. Chapter 17. Cool Fantasy. We are controlled by the reality of ourselves. We are controlled by our own personality, who we are most of the time. And we use it in a flexible manner by believing into it or not. In bad society, the individual is always in addiction with other members. Life depends on suppliers, mentors, specialists, people who know more than you. Instead of that, are interested first of all by their own level of thinking and trying to reach some higher levels and increase it with the help of society around, with no addiction or struggle from outside, and feels independent from other members. We should not really rely so hard on any world of illusion or dreams, internet, TV, or any other augmented reality. Because we were designed for existing here in the material world and any maximum joy that we can only feel here and not anywhere else. That's why you should spend more power and time or your values here, spending it in this material world. A lot of people do not really make a direct choice, but just agree with some circumstances. But what's the difference? When you make a choice, it's an active act, one from a lot of possibilities. And when you just agreed with something, you do not choose something directly, but block any other variants besides one. You just begin to do not want, do not feel a lot of things besides one thing. It's a passive act. And when you really want something, you actively want only special one thing besides all of that smaller thing that you have a smaller passion for. So this is the active choice. So here is a big difference, a lot of besides one and nothing besides one. When you agreed with something, it shows more about your person among other persons. And when you choose actively something, it's more about a society of individuals like you. That's why modern elections do not really matter, because they do not correlate for the audience which is made for. The full amount of people on elections could be as high as possible, but nobody really knows the real audience for whom these results matter. No one really knows how much people really play this game, how much people really think that it's really important to have such instruments of evolution. I think it's wrong to create an interest for unfinished products and looking for money for uninvented ideas. Everybody in this world wants its own place, its own public proof of its own great personality. And everybody finds such people and improvements. Everybody wants to reach its own maximum limit after understanding that you can slowly begin to die. People always trying to prove their own views and points, but all their points is just a reflection of the world around them, which already existing. It doesn't matter what form of being public you use. The main question, if anybody could receive and understand your own ideas, I wonder why people are so fast in understanding. Is it a matter of communication with this person or not? I think it's because of a form of dialogue itself. It's originally created to understand, do you get the person's idea or not? I think it's a primary function of any dialogue. What is an advantage of concurrency? What do the winner really get with its winning? The winner begins to be the one and the only best in society, and everybody else now could try to be like this idol. But anyway, it's all based on diversification of pressure of work time and responsibility. Military people do not really working and looking just for justice. They are the same as others. They are looking for respect to them and trying to find out some kind of refund of every bad thing they made and what they are lying to their souls. The adventures, if they should happen, will find you anywhere you can imagine. Time is meaningless for the decisions which a man believes. It could be years gone until the man could release an idea in what he believes in. How you could know that a part of a body really is a part and not an individual thing. Like when we move our arm, is it a part moving by itself, or is it a part of a body? If yes, so then how we control other things that is not a part of our body. When your body feels good, you can see how bad emotions and attack you, but you understand that you have an ability to reject that attacks because you feel okay and well, and thus you feel protected against these bad ideas and you can fight them by coming up with your own good ideas. And you feel that it's all real because your health is good. But if you feel weak, these bad ideas begin to penetrate your soul, your inner world. and you begin to feel bad, sad, unfortunately, feel the discomfort and even pain. You feel everything around more clear and brighter, immediately see what's bad and what's good. And if you feel weak, you begin to agree with a lot of unnecessary ideas. Thus you make it a part of yourself, your inner world. Thus, you begin to feel only worse. And you can't come up with good ideas instead of these bad ideas because you feel weak. And if health is good, all bad ideas leave your world, in the same way as if you leave it on a paper. Chapter 18. New information. Internet and information transfer was required and was invented for a special concrete goal. And the point when we look at the internet as an ability source is wrong, and it's all an individual mind. Otherwise, you lie to all future internet users and dooms them to false usage of internet for the wrong purposes, pursuing the wrong goals. And using of internet is not a predictable but very precise result, like that or nothing else. Otherwise, you work against yourself. You're doing it wrong and bring harm to yourself. People do not really need cryptography. Them could say the things they want to say, the uniqueness of existing. Every system is always something about filtering and sorting some things. And it is an infinite process where you should always be aware where you begin and where you should stop, or you can mess up. You should know exactly what and who need what. And always should have an ability to communicate with every element of system, and give it to it if it's necessary in a responsible way. Every job is a communication with people. But the question is, what people and by what means? What sphere and how to give a tone to a whole community? And who should solve the problems of this community? A person who just agrees with everything makes less work than other workers. So somehow we always communicate with the world around all of us. Our main goal is to optimize this process. If I rule my life, that means that I could plan it, and there is a big power in it. I can skip this year and feel good with it, or I can do something after 2 years, or maybe after 10 years. I rule my emotions, and that means you rule your life around you. How our wishes work. The mechanism of passion. Chapter 19. Mixed personalities. Our life have a one-direction style. Nothing is happening with two things in the same time. Everything is happening in special time, in special order. And any additional action is getting influenced by the main action and by prioritized action. Every new action is give you an answer, yes or no, which create a new direction. People is usually messing up two terms, security and being protected. Some people use different kind of these terms in their daily life. Some use security to feel safely at home because they know that nobody can touch them and find them in their own place at home. And other people use it in opposite manner. They know that they are safe at home, and that's why their home living manners are so terrible. And this is a big misunderstanding that gives us by corporate living. In every time, all humans will be separated by those who are calm and passive and those who are active and who do things. A lot of women are able to other women and they do not even notice how they act. And we're always switching with these two types of mood. In the same time, other people accept or decline to them to act like this, and just raising their own value in society. There is always a big, strong feeling that you do not want to be wrong. We primarily feel the world and value it emotionally, on emotional basis, because feelings is physically normal thing. And this is how our world around us works, first of all. Rational thinking is always secondary after emotional thinking and accepting the world around through your body emotions. Every logic or rational is going out of emotional information that you receive by your body. If your eyes primarily noticed and understand that there are two objects, for example, and only after that we begin to compare and manipulate this information. Your eyes as well as your ears have a point of interest. As well as eyes, ears do not hear to every sounds around you. They hear only for something it want. Chapter 20. Cake. First ideas of a day are always the most strongest and the most truest. The whole resonance of a day depends on it. I think it's very important to really understand. Are people created to communicate most of the time? Or what is the role of communication in every person's life in general? How it's important to make your ideas publicly audible? And what it is mean for a person to repeat your ideas with a sound? What type of communication for a person is primarily personal or public? And how many time we should spend on each type of communication? Because we always try to repeat emotions of a past, but always use a new one. People always try to count everything around them and always try to treat everything in that manner. People usually think like that. This is 2, that's why it's good. And this is 1, that's why everything goes like that. They like the feelings of control, that's why they like the rationality in communications. People always being lazy and thus admiring why nothing is happening, why nothing is changed. What is a wish and what do we really want? Why do we live by some kind of wishes? We always want to do everything in our own way, like only we want. We always want to consume something from other people. We secretly want an attention or some information or be sure in our ideas, considerations. Chapter 21. Fact. The views generates a new forms. Our life is a sequence of emotional crises, and it's not changed with the time. We could only create something if we feel only in cozy conditions for us, which we choose by ourselves. And we can accept this something new if only our mind accepted. We cannot create a mass market. It creates by itself by mass society. That's why we're trying to feed the connective of the market, but with our own vision. The main thing is that market is only now at this moment and do not exist in other time tomorrow or in the past. And it's important to know how to jump on it by your track, your service, or your product tomorrow. It will already change. There are 2 types of people. Ones who come up with all these ideas and fantasies, and those who use and develop all these ideas and bringing them to life. You should do everything to do and reach something today already to get everything you can already today by any means or chances and possibilities. Every person primarily exists in-house, so any system is natural way to win. Any kind of an anxiety of person caused by age or anything else. The form of everybody depends of a way of thinking of this person by the views on things, grading, sales, and forgetting about their main goals and directions person. Chapter 22. Facts. 2. Music, for example, and we the society exists in a different space in the same time. People are getting inspired, admired about rating, sales, and forgetting about their main goals and directions. You can't de-erase and minimize everything forever. In ancient time, by the language of gods was in a speech of emotional people in society. And that's how they were spreading their views on different things. People are always a victim of some ideas and they always change. Everything happens for a reason. We do everything with some reasons in our head. When we do nothing by some reason. Everything consists of independent ideas and are efficient. That together shows us to society something. I think we as society need more complex value as audio or visual images of a world which are a lot more complex and sensitive to a time and situation around in real time. The whole body of a user should affect on situation and world around. Effect on a whole system. As much as we develop the society, as much the society helps to every individual. I'm tired of writing papers. I will express my new ideas through electronic circuits and new devices, and will pack my knowledges in small time and compatible format for new users. Today we are trying to understand and recreate in digital the voice control system of communication of old society. Our parents, friends, colleagues, these people, these old roles, was communicating like this, but in a new society, voice should be used in a different way, with different aims and goals. For example, to control the movement of an object and not to just name objects of special current type, but to direct things in a special way. The main idea is not to accept a role, but use them and their advantages. Every system is just a captured view of some individual. It's in any way will develop or destroy something in one way or another. Output and input is always the same thing. No matter how big these processes are, this will always be something that people will agree or decline. Every system is a view of society. You should see something first, some appreciation from people firstly, and only then you should bring your idea to the physical layer. You want to show their values publicly on everyday basis.